Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Finding Peace podcast. During this episode, you get to meet my new friend, Daniel. I met him a few weeks ago, and he volunteered to be on the podcast, so I got to get to know him a little better, and now you get to know him a little better. So join Daniel and I on this episode of the Finding Peace podcast. Oh, and one more thing. We had some technical difficulties when we were recording this podcast episode, and so some of the quality of the sound is a little off. Please forgive me for technical difficulties.
We have all had painful events in our lives that can lead to depression, anxiety, addiction, or broken relationships. But here's a secret. It is not about what happened to us that causes suffering. It's the stories we believe about ourselves. Join us as we shine light on how to rewrite our stories, avoid the shadows of shame, and travel along the pathway to joy, love, and connection. It's the Finding Peace podcast with your host, Amazon best-selling author, Troy L. Love.
Well, hello there, Daniel. Thank you so much for being on the Finding Peace podcast today.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm glad you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about where you'd like to feel more peace, joy, comfort, clarity in your life right now?
Thank you. I think I've noticed the pattern of self-sabotage kind of through most of my life. And it seems like as I've gotten older, the consequences get higher. And so this has been a tough last couple of years, and I'm just frustrated. I want to figure out how to interrupt those patterns and I guess I would say accept good things for myself in my life.
Can you give me an example of a way where you have self-sabotaged?
Yeah, well, I guess the big one is financial. So I start to gain some financial success, and then it just feels weird. Like I just make dumb decisions and get into debt that I don't like, and maybe don't work as hard as I was or whatever. And another thing is I find myself like eating food that doesn't make me feel good. I've gained weight, and like I will be eating it and feeling like, why am I doing this? I know that this is going to hurt me, and I just finish it. So yeah, I just feel kind of confused about why these things keep happening.
So you can see that there's similar patterns between food and the way you spend money. You know that it's not going to help you, but you end up doing it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we're going to use food as an example. So can you think about a recent time when you used food the way that you just said, where you didn't want to do it, but you did it anyway?
I don't really know what triggered or why, but I went to the grocery store to get, like, my son was making some food for the family and needed like an onion or something silly. And I bought a bag of cookies and a thing of milk and then ate the entire thing. And it just felt so sick. It was almost like I did not like it, but it was like, that's what I wanted. If that makes any sense.
Oh, totally. I've done the same thing, man. Totally. We're going to do things just slightly different. So can you identify what your top attachment wounds are first? We're going to use that first.
My top ones. I feel like I have all of them, and they can be strong at different times. So I think the ones that have been a tough one lately is rejection, maybe neglect. I think those two have been strong the last couple months.
Okay. And you said that you believe that you have all six, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I really appreciate your book. I went through your book and I spent time and found all six of them there. That was not easy.
No, it definitely takes some courage and some guts to walk through that first chapter. So I commend you for your courage, man. So recently you said rejection and neglect are really the wounds that have been bumped. When they get bumped, what are the core beliefs that get activated for you?
Well, rejection is I'm not enough, or yeah, it just doesn't matter how what I do, people just don't want me around, or yeah.
What are you feeling right now?
I don't like to visit those feelings. It's painful.
Mm.
I know that it's not true. I can like mentally work on myself, but it doesn't feel good to be reminded of that.
So the predominant core belief is,
I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. For how long have you believed that?
I can't specifically pinpoint time, but childhood. So I would say my whole life.
Mm. What kind of experiences have you had that have led you to hold on to that core belief?
I could think of two things. How my parents treated me. And then the other thing that was really hard was trying to date and have a relationship with with women, and then they would reject me pretty consistently.
There's a lot of sadness coming up for you.
Yeah, I don't like remembering that stuff.
My heart hurts with you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel empathy. I can hear it in your voice. Appreciate that.
So the way that you were treated, the things that people said, that really reinforced that core belief that I am not enough. And so as you became a teenager and then later grew into being a young adult, what kind of things or what kind of behaviors did you use to help you soothe the pain?
As a teenager, the first thing that comes to mind is music. I love to find songs that either make me feel the pain and let me cry about it, or uplifting songs, or music that would. So I think that as a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
On the negative side, pornography and food. I don't think food was as much of a thing back then. Plus, when you're a teenager, you got your motor running.
Metabolism so high.
Yeah, exactly. But I do remember still having the feelings of guilt around eating like lots of sugar and stuff like that.
So when did food become one of the ways in which you would numb?
When did it become? I don't know if I'm changing direction here, but I feel like when I was young, there was a lot of issues around control with my mom and food. And so I would go on my own, and, I'd have I had a little job, and I would go get what I wanted because my mom wouldn't let me have these things. So I would go get it. Yeah, I just realized that. So I would go buy donuts and, what the good stuff that all kids want, right? Candy and all the good things. And I think I would do that to get away from her and feel some control in my life.
So when it felt like you didn't have any control in your life, you found a way to create some.
I think so, yeah. I never thought about that before.
So recently, before you went to the grocery store, where did you feel like you didn't have a lot of control?
In some of my relationships, my relationship with my wife.
Say more about that.
In work, there's definitely things I would like to change about my work. That's what comes to mind. Maybe interesting. Maybe the way I feel about myself. Yeah. Just not liking who I am. It's a hard thing to deal with, I guess. Or wanting myself to be different and better in lots of different ways.
What's not to like?
So you're saying, what are the judgments about myself, right?
Yeah.
I think I struggle with self-discipline and consistency in the things that I need to do. I've been realizing that I have really low self-esteem. And so I'm trying to figure out that. And basically what I came up with was with some help, was to do esteemable things, do things that I respect. And I just haven't been doing things that I respect. Wasting time, spending too much money, like back to food again, eating food that, doesn't make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Tell me about the spending money part. Like, where do you end up spending money that you wish that you hadn't? Where do you end up regretting the way that you've used money?
Food. Double whammy. Let me think about it for a second. When I have money, I tend to buy stuff for my family, stuff that they need. And maybe I spend money on experiences. So going on trips and stuff. But I don't like buy a lot of junk that sits around, or, 15 iPhones or whatever. So it's hard. I don't know, but I don't have money. So I'm like, where did it go? I don't buy lots of clothes. I used to. When I was younger, I bought a lot of clothes and stuff that I felt was a waste. Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of confused. I know I spend a lot of money on food, though.
Okay. So when you look at the credit card statement and you look at all the expenditures that are on there, do you feel upset about what you've spent money on, or do you feel justified in whatever is on the statement?
Yeah, most of the time I don't feel upset. I feel, yeah, it depends. It's like if I go on a trip, take the family on a trip or something, it's like, well, was that worth it? I mean, we had a good time. Maybe we should have done that later. But for the most part, I don't feel like there's nothing on there this is terrible. Why did you waste your money here?
Okay. What were your earliest experiences with money?
My family was pretty poor. My dad just struggled to keep up. And it seemed like my mom would spend money pretty freely. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't know for sure, but that's kind of what it seemed like. But we were just always poor. We never had enough. If I wanted something, I had to go get it myself. So I was 10, I got a paper route, and I would use that money for myself. And then that money was needed to help the family. So it was not for myself anymore. Yeah, I guess that's the answer.
What wound is that tied to, man?
A little bit of loss. Maybe betrayal. Like they took what was mine. I mean, they asked and I gave it to them. But
you earlier had identified neglect as being one of your wounds, and the way that you're describing things, that's what it sounds like.
Okay.
So one of the interesting things about the wounds is it's not really about blame. It's not pointing fingers. I mean, we could blame people all day long for all the things that people have done to us. We can throw people under the bus and say, you've done this and you've done that, but that's not really the principle of the attachment wounds. With the attachment wounds, it's really, this thing happened to me, and as a result, I incurred this wound. And so now I have this wound and it hurts. So it's not about throwing your mom and dad under the bus or saying like they were horrible parents, because honestly, we don't know what was going on in their life financially or emotionally or all those things. But what we do know is that some of your needs were not being met. And that is the definition of neglect. Your basic needs are not being met.
Yeah.
Financially, spiritually, emotionally, those different ways in which your needs were not being met. So unfortunately, that has an effect on you. So by the time you were 10 years old, you learned that if you were going to get your needs met, you were going to have to do that all by yourself. You're 10 years old. So how often does that core belief of, I'm going to have to do this to get my needs met, whatever this is, how often does that show up for you nowadays? Like, I can't depend on other people to be there for me, so I'm going to have to figure out how to do this myself.
All the time, constantly.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I see a problem and it's like, okay, well, I got to take care of this. And I try to make a plan or whatever and do what I can. But I feel, that's really interesting. I feel those same feelings of, wow, how is there just never enough? And then I get tired and then I get behind financially. And then I pull my bootstraps up and take care of it. I go figure it out. And I don't feel like I have help, or I have trouble asking for help. But yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that I really appreciate is if I go to my family and say, hey, we don't have enough money, they're really great about not giving me a hard time, not spending money. They're very frugal. So I feel supported that way. But otherwise, it's like I'm an entrepreneur business. I'm a real estate agent, and I don't hire other people to help me. I just go do what I need to do myself. And I have had coaches and stuff say, you get to this point now, you should hire somebody, you should hire a way for this help, and I don't. I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, it sounds like there's this sense of scarcity, or there's this belief that there isn't going to be enough, this sense of scarcity.
Yep.
I'm not sure that I'm going to afford that or be able to afford that. And so I'm going to have to do that by myself, which it sounds like mirrors the pattern that 10-year-old boy learned, that if things were going to get done, he was going to have to do them himself.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So how does this show up in the relationship with your children and your wife?
It takes me away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can't be, not always, but I struggle to be available to them when I am with them, emotionally available, because I'm thinking about and stressing out about whatever the thing is, getting clients or helping this client or solving this problem, dealing with an emergency. Where's the next dollar going to come from?
It sounds like you are under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot.
So there's this concept that I teach the guys in my sex addiction coaching group, and it's called the shame 2-step. And so we step to the right, and when we're there, we feel like we need to be perfect. We need to do all the things correct. It's all on our shoulders. And so we're going to try really hard. We are going to make a million checklists, and we're going to do these checklists, and we're going to wake up early, and we're going to exercise, and we're going to go out and we're going to pound pavement in order to get more customers. And we're going to sell as much of the housing that we can possibly do. And then we're going to show up and be the best dad ever. And we're going to show up and be the most incredible husband ever. And that becomes too much. It's like so overwhelming, especially with that demand of being perfect. And so then we finally realize, like, I can't do this anymore. And so we slide to the left. And as we slide to the left, we just kind of throw our hands up and say, I'm just going to do whatever I want. We just release all of that control. And we just I'm going to go out and buy milk and cookies and eat whatever I want. And I'm just going to give myself a break, and I'm not going to work so hard. But then we look at the bank account, and we look at how we're feeling about ourselves, and we look at the relationship with our kids and our wives and all that stuff, and realize, oh, things are not good. These are not good. And then so we slide to the right, and we're going to try harder. We're going to do harder, and we're going to be harder. And we work hard, and we're exhausted, and it's not sustainable. And so then we slide to the left and slide to the right. Can you relate to that?
100%. Yeah.
It sounds exhausting, yeah?
It is exhausting.
So part of the dilemma of the 2-step is that you have to do all of it by yourself.
Yeah.
So you are buying into the martyr that's telling you that this is all on you. So what kind of things does the martyr say are your job?
Well, I mean, I'm the man of the house. I've got a wife and 3 kids who are looking to me to take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have faith. I believe in my God, and I pray for help, and I feel his help. And I'm still doing that 2-step, and I'm exhausted, and I feel alone, and I need more help.
How lonely are you?
Sometimes I'm very lonely.
Mm-hmm. And what do you normally do when you're lonely?
I will just watch YouTube or play a video game by myself, just be more lonely.
It's so weird that we do that, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, does it? I've been doing a little bit better with connections lately, actually through your group. I have a good friend that him and I talk, and that helps. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure on one person to be my only connection.
Well, we start with 1, and then we find 2, and then we have 3, and pretty soon we have a group of men that we can turn to.
Yeah, wow, you're right. Yeah. They work together.
But finding one is really hard. So I'm super glad that you have one. So I'm hearing this pattern that keeps showing up, that pattern that you learned as a kid. So there's this irony because you believe that you have to do it all by yourself on one hand. And then on the other, you don't believe that you're enough. So I have to do it all and I am not enough. I don't have what it takes, but I have to do it all, but I'm not enough. That sounds so defeating.
It is. I mean, I don't know how to argue with that.
So you are familiar with the shadows of shame, right? So I already gave you a hint as to one of the shadows that is out right now, but can you identify any of the other shadows that might be part of this process for you?
Well, the judge, I'm not enough. Or you're not enough. And maybe the impotent one too, they can't really do anything about it.
That you're powerless.
Yeah. I don't know which judges I have to do it all by myself. I mean, which shadow is I have to do it all by myself.
The martyr.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I've never really dealt with much with the martyr.
So the martyr tells you that you have to be the hero.
Yeah.
Your needs don't matter. You have to put your needs aside and you need to make sure that everybody else is taken care of. You got to make sure that everybody else's needs are met. You need to sacrifice yourself for their needs. You need to buckle down and try harder, work harder, do more in order to make sure that everyone is taken care of. And if you can be the hero good enough, then you can prove to yourself and to the judge that you are really enough.
That's true. Is that not true?
No, it's not true.
Yeah. I mean, that's how my dad felt and how he took care of us. And that's also, I feel like my mom sort of put me in that position. I had to make her happy. And then I also had to, I'm the oldest of four. I had to take care of my siblings to a certain degree, which I couldn't and didn't, and then felt guilty about it.
Oh, yeah.
Doing the same thing with my family now.
So you have some kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's their responsibility to take care of you and your wife?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Good. And how old are they ish?
Early teens. And then my youngest is just almost 10.
Oh, so your youngest is almost identically to the same age that you were when you got your paper out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So think about your 10-year-old and how little your 10-year-old is. And that's how little you were when you felt like you had to take care of everything yourself. You had to find a way to get your needs met on your own.
That's terrible. So unfair.
What comes up for you?
It just hurts. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine expecting her to go earn money for us. And I feel like a loss of innocence and childhood and ability to just go play.
Yeah.
And be fun. Use my imagination.
Yeah. Go have some milk and cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you connecting some dots?
No. What do you mean?
You buy milk and cookies.
Oh, so I'm trying to recapture my childhood.
Your 10-year-old self felt like he had to carry all of this.
It's too heavy.
It is too heavy for a 10-year-old. And that's what the martyr keeps telling you today. You've got to do it. It's all on you. You got to do it. You can't turn to anybody else. Can't ask for anybody else's help. You've got to be the savior. You've got to be the hero. So there's a difference between being a responsible adult and like making sure the bills are paid and all of that stuff. What the martyr is telling you, though, is that you are responsible for everyone's happiness, everyone's joy, your wife's happiness, your children's happiness, your parents' happiness, your family members' happiness, your coworkers' happiness, your customers' happiness. You are responsible for everyone's needs to be met. It's all on you. You are responsible for all of it.
Oh my gosh. I 100% see that. I mean, I literally will ask my wife, are you okay? Are you happy? And she gets really annoyed. Like, why are you worrying about that? Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand. Now I can see like it's imbalanced. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely concerned about my customers. I stress out so bad if they're not happy.
Well, I get that, right? I mean, you are worried that you're going to lose the sale. They're going to be unhappy. They're going to fire you. You're then not going to be able to provide for your family. The bills aren't going to be paid. Like this big old huge avalanche of crisis.
Yep.
So can you imagine what it would be like if the martyr was not a part of your life? Like that sense of being responsible for everyone's happiness was not there. Can you even contemplate what that might be like?
I would feel like I was cold and callous, and I would feel bad. Like how could I live life without caring about their happiness? I hear that the martyr's not right, but I don't understand how I would not feel good about myself.
So I love what you're saying. And what you're basically telling me is that if the martyr is not a part of your life, then you're going to be a bum. You're going to be an asshole. You're just not going to care about anything.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with that? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, there's got to be a middle ground, right?
Well, can you have empathy for your family? Can you love your family? Can you see that they're hurting and not feel like you are responsible for their emotions, that you are not responsible for their joy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I do that sometimes with my kids. I'm able to, if they're unhappy, let them be unhappy. I might like try to offer them help or talk with them, but not feel a need to change it. Yeah, it feels good. It feels I can accept their feelings. And then that usually, when I'm in that place, that usually leaves room for connection too. So I feel like a good dad when I do that. Like I show it up for them. But I have a hard time doing that with everybody.
So the underlying emotion for that is fear. You are afraid that...
I'm afraid that we take, for example, my wife. If my wife is unhappy with me, that I won't have my needs met, or she'll abandon me or neglect or whatever, something along those lines.
Oh, there's that neglect wound again.
Yeah.
So according to the martyr, if you don't do everything that your wife needs, make sure she's happy all the time and make sure that she doesn't have a miserable day in her life and that she's super happy. If you can't pull that off, then she's going to neglect you and eventually she's going to abandon you.
Yeah.
What's it like to hear me say that?
It just feels true.
You're like, yeah, that's
that's right. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What would your partner say if I said to her, hey, if he doesn't meet 100% of your needs, if he doesn't make sure that you are 100% happy every moment of every day, you're probably going to leave him, right?
She's absolutely not. Look at how she's taken care of me for the last 18 years. So I know that that's not true.
Good. So if you were going to take a picture of your martyr and you sent it to me, like you texted me a picture of your martyr, what would your martyr look like?
Oh, man. I don't know. What would my martyr look like? I'm really sorry, but I can't think of what that would look like.
So let's try it this way. Imagine that you're talking on the phone to your martyr and your martyr is saying some things to you. Now you can't see the martyr, but you can hear it. And it's saying things like, you have to be the hero. You need to make sure that everybody else's needs are taken care of. You can't let anybody down. This is all on your shoulders. Those kind of messages. What I want you to pay attention to is, what does the voice sound like? Is it a man's voice or a woman's voice?
Man's voice.
Loud or soft?
I wouldn't have said loud, but I would say intense.
Intense. Okay. So then if you were on your iPhone, let's say, and you flipped it over to FaceTime so you could see this martyr talking to you, what would the martyr look like?
Like a sales manager, kind of tall and skinny, and yeah.
So he's a tall, skinny sales manager. So what's it like to look at him, to see him there?
I just don't want to be there. Makes me want to leave, not listen to that.
So it's like, He calls you up in the morning. He calls you into the office. He's got his PowerPoint presentation on the board. He's got his statistics. He's like, you have let down these people this week. You really need to do better to rescue them and take care of them so you can get those points back up. You need to really put yourself in the game. You need to make sure you sacrifice yourself for the greater good. This is all about getting these points up, making sure you can prove that you're enough. Let's go. Come on. Raw.
I just got to get out of here. Yeah.
And it sounds like you want to get out of there.
Yeah. It just feels like that urge to run away.
So just notice how that feels, that you don't want that. So if he were in the room with you right now, where would he be?
Behind me, to my right.
So can you turn around and look at him? Say, hey, I can see you standing there.
That's all really uncomfortable. I can see you standing there, big guy.
And what does he do?
He just shrugs his shoulders.
Oh, is he talking? Is he still giving you his PowerPoint presentation?
No.
Oh, he's shut up. That's nice. So I want you to ask him a question. What is he trying to protect you from by telling you that you have to sacrifice yourself for the greater good and be the hero to everybody and make sure that everybody's joy is top notch?
What are you trying to protect me from by telling me that I'm responsible for everybody else? I'm not getting any answer. What are you trying to protect me from?
What is he afraid is going to happen if you don't?
I will be alone, abandoned, alone, and rejected. And that's it.
So he's afraid you're going to be neglected, rejected, abandoned, left alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, a few minutes ago, you told me that you were feeling very lonely.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think he's doing a very good job.
You hear that? You hear that, Martyr? You've done a terrible job. I need to be responsible for everybody's happiness.
So what's it like to notice that his strategy isn't working out that well?
I feel a little bit of release, like a little bit of pressure off.
Mm.
I also feel kind of like I don't know what to do next. What do I fill that with?
Well, yeah. I mean, the smarter guy's been with you since you were 10.
No, it was younger than that. Yeah.
How old were you when he started to hang around?
I don't remember exactly, but I felt like I had to take care of especially my mom's happiness since I was very, very young.
Okay. So he's been there for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Trying to protect me.
So is there a fear that if he goes away, you won't really know what to do?
Yeah. I think I have a couple of fears that I won't know what to do. Everybody will, be unhappy around me, and then I'll be alone. And then also the other extreme, that I will be a jerk because I don't care about somebody else's happiness.
I don't think that's in your nature, man.
That's true. I do. I care a lot about people.
So can you tell him thank you for trying to protect you, and you're going to use a different strategy?
Thank you, Mr. Sales Manager, for trying to protect me. And I need to do something different. I want to do something different.
What do you want to do?
I just want to love. I want to be loved too.
Beautiful. So can we start with you loving you?
Oh, yeah. I guess that's kind of obvious. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I love me.
You do?
Yeah. There's a lot of good things to love here.
It's so funny because at the beginning you said there wasn't much to love. So I'm so happy that this has turned around. What do you love about yourself? What do you love about you?
I love that I'm funny and I like to laugh. I love that I really do care about people and their feelings. I love that I am a really hard worker. And I like that I allow myself to have some cookies now and then. It's hard to not start qualifying that. Saying, yes, but only a little bit here or there. You can't have too much.
Oh, so your judge shows up.
Yeah.
What does your judge look like?
Kind of a scary old lady.
Very old lady.
Like the glasses with the chains.
Yes. So interesting. You started to love on yourself, and then the old lady with the glasses with the chains showed up.
That happened specifically because I said something about having food.
Mm-hmm. What does she say to you?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just that the accusation is that it's too much. There's not self-control there, and it's too often. Yeah.
Oh, so she says, you really don't have any self-control, and you're doing this too much. What else does she say to you?
Oh man. How I spend my time. So like being alone, playing video games, or yeah, watching movies or YouTube or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's what comes to mind.
And the impotent one? What does the impotent one look like?
Kind of like a scrawny young teenage boy, 13 or so.
And what does he tell you?
Well, I guess it depends or on subject of like what the judge is saying about the food and stuff. I don't really hear his voice, but when I go back to taking care of everybody's needs and stuff, it's a feeling of I guess I'm not hearing the impotent one actually.
Oh, phew. What a relief.
Okay.
How loud is the judge right now?
Not terribly loud after that little like, hey, I gotta mention something, then just kind of not there. I mean, it's still there, but not saying anything.
So what are you feeling?
Kind of a mix. I feel some peace about not needing to take care of everyone's needs. I still have that strong feeling of like I'll be left alone. Tired.
All right. So ponder this for a moment. You are really afraid, and your shadows really emphasize that you are going to be left alone. And yet you also tell me that you do a lot of things alone. You you play video games alone. You watch YouTube alone. I do all of that alone. I spend all my time alone. I do it in hopes that
I can escape. I don't have to feel my feelings of feeling lonely.
Does it work?
No.
So that's where the rebel comes in.
Yeah, that's true. I don't when I get that little warning bell, I don't care. Yeah.
Who do you actually want to spend time with?
My family, my wife and kids. I love them very much.
Awesome. What do you like to do with them?
Play games. We like to play board games. Go on bike rides, or we work around the yard and the garden, stuff like that. Just sit and talk and do nothing.
How often do you get to do that?
Lately, it's been better. So maybe a couple times a week. I'd like to do that more.
So I want you to just sit with that for a moment. Where do you feel that peace in your body?
Wow. That's a hard one for me. If I can not necessarily answer that, but say I struggle with connecting those things to my body. I've heard you ask that from other people, and I have a really hard time with that.
Okay. So let me ask it a different way. Where outside of your body do you feel it?
Oh, wow. That's even harder. Wow, that's interesting. I don't feel it outside. I think if I feel it inside, maybe my gut, kind of over my belly button.
Okay, perfect. So even if it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, and you're feeling that in your belly button and it's only like a 1, that's perfect. That's wonderful. So I want you to just breathe into that feeling in your belly button. And then if that feeling, even if it's really small, had a color, what color would it be?
Brown, I guess.
And if it had a texture?
Like glass.
And if it had a temperature?
Kind of neutral.
Great. So just breathe into that. So do your best to connect with that energy, just breathing in and out. And then what do you notice happens to your body as you connect with that energy?
I'm starting to feel it in my forehead.
Wonderful. So what do you notice with that?
I just feel like I can breathe easier. Like I feel just like not as much of a weight as there.
So I want you to just keep breathing into that energy, that feeling. And I'm going to have you just do that for about 30 seconds. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now I want you to ask that feeling a question. What is actually true about you, Daniel?
The thought that came up is that I'm very gentle.
I'm gentle.
Yeah.
So just breathe into that. I'm gentle.
It just makes me cry.
Your emotions are welcome here. Let it out, brother. Is it a sad cry or is it a happy cry?
It's a sad cry.
It's a sad cry. I'm sad that...
I think I'm feeling like some feelings of mourning for childhood.
That's okay. Just cry. Just let it out.
I feel like I'm kind of with little me, which feels good.
Wonderful. So can you imagine that he is sitting on your lap?
Yeah. I think he just needs to know that he's okay. I think he wants to talk. He wants to be heard.
What does he want to tell you?
Wants to. You know what? I don't think anything important. Just that it's okay to be a kid. He wants to play.
Playing for a kid is really important.
And tell me all of his little imaginations and stories.
All right, so just breathe and listen to him as he tells you all this stuff.
He felt guilty for what he felt like was sneaking food, sneaking treats and stuff. And I just told him it's okay. It's okay to have those treats. And then he jumped down and ran off to go play.
Good. He was free to tell you, and you held space for him. You listened to him. So can you say the same thing to your older self?
I'm trying, and I'm better, but there's still a lot of resistance there. And yeah buts.
Oh, your judge showed up again? She'll be there.
He's persistent.
She's always trying to protect you, man.
Yeah.
Ask her what she's trying to protect you from.
I think I don't want the consequences of of overindulging. I think that's what she's trying to protect me from.
And in her mind, worst case scenario, the consequences of you indulging would be
Death, diseases, and various things.
And then the people in your life will...
They'll be alone. They won't have me.
I want you to sit with the question and really contemplate, is it possible to be there with them without having to be the martyr, to just be there and to want to be there and them wanting to be with you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So you can just be you and they get to be them. Laugh, play games, tell jokes.
I guess I'm feeling, I think I'm accepting that they want me there. And if I keep up hurting myself, I won't be.
Wait, your family wants you? Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Even your wife?
Especially my wife.
Oh, wow.
And I want to be there with them too.
So breathe that in, dude. Breathe it in.
That was really good. I want to go to them right now.
I know you do. And we're almost done. So what kind of cookies did you get the other day?
Chocolate chip.
Yummy. So do you have to eat all of the chocolate chips all by yourself?
Oh, no, I don't.
What? Get out of here.
It reminds me of something. I remember being in the car waiting for my mom to come back from the store, and she bought herself donuts, and then she did not share them. And I remember being really angry about that. And I watched her eat this, and literally a bag of donuts. And why wouldn't you share? I want some. That hurts.
So in the future, you might buy some cookies. What are you going to do differently?
I want to bring them home and share them.
There you go.
With joy.
I love that smile. Oh my gosh. So what's really true about you?
I'm gentle and I like to share.
Yeah. And I think it's ironic because the sign behind you says, be kind.
Oh,
You are kind and you are gentle.
it's true.
You're compassionate and you're loving. So I'm wondering if you can be kind and gentle and compassionate to yourself too.
I can.
I know. I believe you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. That last thought makes me cry a little bit, but I'm doing good.
I'm so very proud of you, man. Thank you, Daniel, for walking through this with me.
Thank you, Troy. That was beautiful. Felt really good.
Well, you did it, dude. I just had the privilege of being here with you. So I hope you go spend some time with your wife and your kids, maybe get some cookies, and also reach out to some of the brothers in your life and let them love on you too.
Thank you for that. I will.
All right, man. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Troy. You too. Have a good day.
You've been listening to the Finding Peace podcast. If you love the show or want to ask a question, let us know by going to findingpeaceconsulting.com. There, you can also learn about the Finding Peace 5-Day Challenge. Remember to subscribe to this podcast so you won't miss the next episode. And if you are listening on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. It really does help other people find this podcast more easily. Thank you for spending part of your journey with us. And a special thanks to Johnny Porter for producing the show, and A.G. Flux for the new background music. Copyright Finding Peace Consulting.